Finally, greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and dear readers. This is your host, Lavinia Dasani, and today I have the pleasure of continuing chapter 8 of the novel Snowblind by author Cassie Miles. So grab yourself a cup of tea or coffee and join me. Hello again and welcome back. So, in the last chapter, which you can find right up here along with the other chapters in this series, we found that there was a car in the an SUV in the parking lot which belonged to Lauren, who looked similar to the victim that Sasha identified. But so far, Sasha wasn't able to tell exactly if Lauren was actually the victim because apparently, from the driver license picture, it was too small for Sasha to make a positive identification. However, we also learned that Lauren was from Denver, just like Sasha was, and in the last video, I also made a comment about how I believe Reinhardt is from Denver as well. Because so far, from what I've read, I'm suspecting Reinhardt because, first of all, his assistant looks pretty much similar like the victim, and the car was in the hotel where Reinhardt was staying, plus Reinhardt is rude and so far have been very dismissive about the case. So that's where we are at right now. So let's see what happens in chapter 8. Chapter 8 starts with Sasha and Brady having lunch at the Kettle Diner on Arcadia's main street. And apparently, Sasha loves her golden onion rings. And she's not shy to savor her burger like a caveman who haven't eaten in forever. Across from the booth from her, Brady watched as she mounted a two-handled assault on her cheeseburger. Hungry? He asked. Starved. She glanced down at the onion rings. Want one? I've got fries of my own, he said. When was the last time you ate? Maybe centuries? That's me saying. Sasha go on saying that she's just had munchies throughout the meeting, but she haven't really had a good meal. Particularly since in her condos there wasn't actually meat and they were supposed to be going to get groceries to make sure that she's well fed and not just having frozen dinners. Brady go on to ask if her boss, Damien, is going to be joining her the same night. And Sasha said that no, he's not, but she felt like she had to make sure Bradley knew that they were not sleeping together and that she will be in her room and Damien will be in her room even though they're sharing the same condo. And the reasoning she gives is because pretty much everybody assumes that Sasha and Damien are sleeping together. If you remember from chapter 1 when Sasha's brother accused her that yes, she was sleeping with Damien and that's why she's been having such good luck at work, when in reality she's just been working hard. And Brady said that he knew. He didn't suspect that Damien and her were sleeping together. Surprised, Sasha asked why. I mean, you're right, but why? Brady go on saying that when he observed her talking to Damien on the computer screen during the meeting, that there was no passion in her eyes and that she was tense and guarded. the only passion you seen in her eyes was when she was looking at the golden onion rings. Like I said, this girl loves her onion rings. But the best part is Sasha internally implying that she has the same passion in her eyes when she looks at him. Just that Brady haven't noticed it yet, or just he doesn't want to because they are in a professional setting. Sasha proposed Brady to stay with him the whole day since he's basically bodyguarding her, and Brady agreed, which, in my opinion, at this point, basically is making Sasha's heart skip a bit because all her internal connotation about how much she would love to feel him, if you remember from the previous chapter. That was a good line. While they were eating, Brady proposed that they shouldn't be spending most of the day out because of the danger that's in her life, and that also because the hotel where she was living actually had a security system. So the best option was to limit outside interaction and just stay in the apartment. And while Sasha also said that internally said that uh, she had documents she would have to go through for the meeting with Damien and the other investors. Besides, Damien also told Sasha to stay away from the crime investigation and did not bring problems into his business deals. However, Sasha also wanted to spend time with Buddy. She wanted to get involved in a more personal way with Buddy. But there's still some resisting going on since we're still in chapter 8 right now, so there's gonna be a bit more resistance. After lunch, they made plans to go to the hotel to meet Jacobson, who was doing all the arrangement for Sasha to look at some security footage so that she can see if she can identify whoever was watching her. If you remember correctly from the previous chapters, when she was at the hotel lobby, she felt like somebody was watching her. So they are going to go to the hotel after getting groceries, I believe. They're gonna go to the hotel to look at some footage to see if she can identify anyone watching her. Showing his caring side, Brady asked Sasha if she was scared to go ahead and try to see if somebody was watching her to identify someone because now she's getting further into the investigation. And Sasha responded with no, that she's not scared, and internally said that it's because when she was with Brady, she felt safe. I mean, I get he's a cop and he knows how to fight, he can protect her, and then Sasha doesn't particularly know how to protect herself yet, so there's that. There's a part I want to read from the book because I like the interaction between the two characters and how the author is depicting Brady and his attitude and the way he comments. It kind of like makes me smile, so that's why I'm gonna be reading from it. I'm just gonna be reading bits and pieces from it. So it's going to start with Sasha's quote. Even though I'm working, this trip to Arcadia is kind of a vacation for me. Is that so? He swallowed a bite of burger. I've never thought of my job as a vacation. If I come with you, I promise not to get in the way. We'll see. His gaze met hers, and for a moment, he dropped his identity as a cop. He looked at her the way a man looks at a woman, with unguarded warmth and interest. She could tell that he wanted to spend time with her too. And that's the part that I wanted to share because this here is just this type of interaction and the way they describe it is basically what makes the book even more interesting, in my opinion. Switching her attention and basically focus, Sasha informed Brady that she was looking forward to go to Julie's ranch the next day. And Brady was like, I don't even know what he have up his sleeve, but I bet it's not going to be as great as Kathy's presentation on the ice rink. And you know what? I'm looking forward to Julie's ranch too to see what he has planned. But the most interesting part is that this page about Julie's farm is Brady's summary of actually what's in the farm because Sasha said that maybe Julie didn't like Marina's idea of an ashram and the people coming to live there, and then Brady came with a comment that he doesn't think Julie will mind because they actually have some pretty wide variety of groups in the mountains. Apparently, they have Back to Nature's communes, artist group, which convents. And there's room for even more as long as each of them respects each other's opinion. Which I guess is a good way to live. I mean, as long as you respect each other's opinions and different views, there shouldn't be much trouble. Brady's cell phone rang and he picked up after a few seconds of conversation. His easygoing attitude changed. Tension invaded his body. His hazel eyes darkened. She could tell that something had happened, something important. Sasha finished off the last onion ring and watched him expectantly as he ended the call. "We have to go," he said. "What is it?" "They found a body." "Finally, we found a body." Chapter 8. We finally found a body. "Where do you think the body is?" "Yeah, no, they already checked the vent with the laundry goes." "I don't know, where do you think the body is?" Comment and let me know. Before I go to the if they mention in this chapter, before I go to that one. As much as Brady wanted to take Sasha back to the condo so that she would be safer, where the crime scene was and where the condo is two different directions, and he didn't have much time for it. Especially since if he goes to the condo, he have to go inside, make sure the place is safe, and that will take more time than he have. Plus, he knows that he would eventually need Sasha to identify the body or something like that. In addition, Brady didn't know that he was gonna stay in charge since the town doesn't see a lot of crime, and as long as there was nobody, the sheriff didn't mind him going around like he was. But now that they have a body, the state the state police will be coming into the town to take over the investigation. Plus, the body needs to be sent to Denver or Grand Junction since the local coroner was an elected official and didn't really have the expertise into the whole crime domain. Brady had a feeling that everything was about to go straight to hell, and I have that feeling too. Because now they have a body and they have to start the investigation, and now the murderer is going to know that the body has been found. Pretty sure it already knows that there is a witness right now, so now everything is pretty much going to get heated up. That's my opinion at least. Sasha at this point, even though she was worried, basically was like, I wonder if there's anything she could do to minimize the negative news on the new hotel, since that was probably her job, especially since her business, the law firm, and everything had money in the hotel. And even though she wanted to call her boss to give him the news that they actually found a body now, Brady let Sasha know that it might not be a good idea to call him right now, at least not until they have identified the body and made sure it was actually the bodies they were looking for and not just any murder. But then again, this town doesn't really have murders, so this is like a once in a lifetime type of thing. When they got to the crime scene, which Brady mentioned was the going into the crime scene was a small area where when most of the vehicles are gonna come, it's gonna get crowded and pretty much it's gonna get hectic there. He asked Sasha to stay in the car based on that information, but Sasha, being her curious self, wanted to go out and look at the body. But then Brady let her know that it's not going to be pretty. It's not like the TV where there's gonna be a small round bullet on the victim, and then the rest of the body is gonna be nice because decomp. But Sasha really wanted to go out to see if she could help, and Brady was pretty much adamant that he was trying to protect her, and basically asked Brady, "Are you trying to protect me?" And Brady, being the honest self that he has been so far, said, "I guess I am. And I don't want to be distracted by worrying about what's happening to you." And Sasha, like earlier, was like, "I'm not gonna get in your way, I won't get in trouble, I promise." Oh, we all know she's gonna get in trouble later on. Particularly since she has the extreme talent to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But Brady wasn't going to have it. He said, "This is a crime scene, just stay in the car." Which at this point Sasha was basically like, okay, she had to agree. And murdered cannot crack a window. If I was a golden retriever, you let me crack a window. Brady, unlike me, was laughing. It was basically like, "I'll be back soon." The body was found by a couple, a husband and a wife, who apparently could pass as siblings because they did look a bit alike. They were skiers they were actually cross-country skiers who did the same path almost every day, and they came across a trunk. It was a gray steamer trunk with silver trim leaning against a pine tree. The subdued colors blended neatly with the surrounding. And if it wasn't for this couple who went ahead and took a closer look, the trunk would have been unnoticed by a lot of people. Actually, it was a long period of time since this area where the body is not actually frequently visited. But this couple live only a couple of miles away from the location of the crime. The couple figured the steamer trunk had fallen off the back of a truck, since there was marks in the snow where it skidded down the hill. And Brady agreed with his observation. Actually, he said that the observation was pretty accurate. However, Brady had his own interpretation of what had happened. He imagined that the killer had crawled up the road, removed the luggage from the trunk of his vehicle, and shoved it over the edge. And since the couple was curious as to what was in the trunk, they opened the trunk with a Swiss Army knife to pop the lock, so that their reasoning was that they were going to open it and then see if they could find any information in the trunk to return the trunk and everything in it to its owner. But unfortunately for them, there was a freaking dead body inside of it. No other belongings. You can't return that, my dear. Allowing the couple to go with the state patrol officer to write down their statement so that they can go home because they just want to be done with the day and go home and chop some firewood and be in the warmth and forget about the dead body they found. Brady went ahead to talk with the other officer, at which point he received a call from Sasha, but he ignored the call, thinking that Sasha was probably bored from sitting in the car, and decided to question the patrolman instead. If you ask me, I think it was a very bad move of Brady to ignore the call, because that's how it starts. You freaking ignore the call and that's when people is in danger, or I don't know, maybe Sasha saw somebody or the killer again from a distance and then was like, hey Brady, I need to call you, but then he ignored the call, so that's how shit happens. The patrolman answered Brady that him and Perkins, I guess the other patrolman, happened to be in the area when the alert went out, and apparently knew that Brady Ellis was the deputy who was looking for a murder victim at the hotel, because my guess is that news went everywhere since the town is small and it doesn't have a lot of murders, so that news went everywhere. And from what Brady said was that even though the state patrol might be coming in, very possibly coming in since they don't have the enough resources, he doesn't believe that they're going to be causing too much trouble since Perkins and the other patrolman knows Brady and he knows them. And from what I can see here, the other officer's name, who also knows Brady and then actually got married, so I believe Brady went to the wedding or etc. His name is Officer Tad Whiteson, just in case the name holds some importance in the future. Officer Watson decided to wait for Brady because even though he had some minimal homicide in training for homicide investigation training, he didn't want to go in and mess up anything and then get in trouble. And also Brady was also the one looking for the body, so he just decided to wait for Brady to see what will be happening or how they should proceed with the case. So technically, even though Ted is state patrol, I'm thinking they're gonna be letting Brady roll and be in charge of the investigation instead of just taking over. However, Brady also knew that the state patrol didn't leave him or wait for him to come just because they respected his expertise. Since Brady too was just as clueless as to how to hold a murder investigation and was just going with the flow, but in comparison to the state patrol guys, Brady was ready to take action. using the cell phone of Ted's using Ted's cell phone. Brady took some pictures of the ski where the possible murderer came from and where the two people, the couple, came from, so that they have evidence. And halfway down the hill, they were finally even with the steamer trunk. It was large, probably 3 feet long and 2 feet deep. The lid was closed, but both of the silver latches on the front showed signs of being pried open, which the couple said they did when they found the body. And he found the body that Sasha described. A woman dressed in white was curled inside with her legs pulled up to her chin, her wrists turned at an unnatural angle. Her fingers were like talons. Dried blood smeared the front of her pantsuit, streaked across her arm, and splattered on the gold necklace encircling her throat. Her black hair was matted and dull. Her blood-smeared face was a grotesque mask. Her lips were ashy gray. Her eyes were vacant and milky above her sunken cheeks. There were broken plates thrown in with her, and also fork and globes of Chinese food and wine glass with broken steams. The killer had cleaned up the hotel room and dumped everything in there. He was disposing of the trash, treating a human life like garbage. Wait. So, let me get that straight. The killer did all of that effort to kill the hotel room, to clean the hotel room, and then went ahead to put everything that they used, all the evidence, in the trunk with the body. I mean, now you're just looking for it. Like, if he went to that effort, he should have at least taken all of the material, like the wine glass, the Chinese food or whatever, and the forks and shit like that. He should have taken all of them and fucking burn it. Keep it away from the murder victim. But no, put everything in a trunk. Now, like, there should be evidence in there somewhere. Another thing I'd like to point out, the author actually had a fun fact in it where he said that Brady recalled that the average woman had 6 to 7 pints of blood in her body. Why I'm mentioning this is because even in my own writing, I like to throw in some fun facts, some like general knowledge facts, and I actually love seeing them in other writers' works. Even though it's fictions, we see have facts mixed in it, which makes it so much better. And you remember how there was no actual blood stain in the hotel room? So Brady proposed that the reason why there was no blood stain was because the killer had the steamer trunk on standby in the same room, and as soon as he stabbed the woman, he threw her in the trunk so there would be no blood stain around, which also suggested that the crime was premeditated. And like he had theorized earlier, once more cops was coming, which apparently have 2 more police vehicles have arrived, the situation was about to get even more complicated, and the place had started to get even more crowded. Taking a few more pictures, Brady went back up the road to his vehicle ready to get this investigation going so that they can get the murderer because the killer was brutal, callous, and the sooner they caught him, the sooner Sasha will be safer and will be able to get back to her life. However, when Brady reached the road and went directly to his SUV to check on Sasha, he noticed that Sasha was gone, which I had predicted. Because when someone is calling you, fucking pick up the phone, even though you think they're just broke. Just, quick text, quick phone call, or whatever. Now, I guess in chapter 9, we are going to be dealing with trying to find Sasha where she is or what happened, how she disappeared. I'm not sure yet, but we will go into that in the next video. And if you did like this video, please do drop a like, subscribe, and turn on that bell notification for my next video. But until then, big kisses.